Welcome to the practical pentesting course, and thank you for joining us on this occasion. This video will be a brief introduction to hardware pentesting, practical hardware pentesting. I am Pedro, one of the two instructors of this course, and I'm going to introduce you to the world of hardware security and hardware hacking. Through these lessons, you will learn how to identify hardware elements, how they behave, and how they are used so that the software that programmers write can properly function. In this way, you will also discover how to find security flaws that make the software measures become compromised or completely defeated. So, when I speak about hardware, probably something will come to your mind. But that something is different from person to person, because we all have had experiences with different devices over the years. So it's important to define or briefly introduce what is hardware. During the course, we will learn the major types of hardware in the next lesson specifically, and most importantly, what they are used for. So for example, we could make a difference between analog devices and digital devices like most modern devices, like on a computer or a smartphone, which are almost always digital devices. Later, we will focus specifically on digital logic and CPUs, which will be the topic of many security discussions. For example, this is how the components inside some old analog device may look like. These are big and specialized components, which oftentimes may run at high voltages. However, this is how the PCB or printed circuit board of a modern smartphone may look like. In this case, we find lots of black and small integrated circuit, and this kind of PCBs, most of the times they run at low voltages, often in the range of 3 to 5 volts. Some of these components, these black integrated circuits, may be dedicated to a specific functionality, but they may also be general purpose components, like a CPU, which can carry out a lot of tasks and very different tasks. So, hardware provides security, but why? Well, hardware provides security because it is the bottom of the pyramid. A hardware circuit begins its operations as soon as it starts receiving an electric current, and it will make sure to set up everything properly so that other components like a CPU or a GPU can run. This is no easy task, and hardware designers need to be very careful. Why? Because this will be the foundation of all the software code that will run later. For these reasons, we often call hardware the root of trust or the layer zero, because it is the foundation for everything that will come afterwards. It is the base for all the functionalities of a modern device. Furthermore, sometimes we can find algorithms that are implemented directly in hardware with some very specific hardware for that purpose. And this kind of hardware also have some security considerations that we will discuss in the next lessons. Over history, however, we have seen some huge failures in security and some crazy hardware hacks. For example, around 2012, hackers discovered an extreme method to disable a security protection in the Xbox 360 DVD reader. Such protection prevented people from overriding the firmware of the reader. So, by drilling a hole, they disabled a wire inside the chip, and now the firmware could be written once again. And once a custom firmware was running on chip, these hackers modified the original code so that the console would read and play pirated games. This arguably caused Microsoft and the Xbox division monetary losses and surely a lot of problems. As you can see, security in hardware at the hardware level is very important to the reliability of commercial products, and that's why we are going to start from the ground up and learn why the security problems arise in the first place. Without further ado, let's get down to business.